My grandma passed away on February 5th, 2021. And I have a hard time letting go of anything that once belonged to her. There's a line or a lyric in Taylor Swift's Marjorie that says, "I should have kept every grocery store receipt because every scrap of you would be taken from me." And it hits me hard every single time because that's the way I feel about basically anything my grandma ever touched. And I think my mom, my aunt, my cousins, we all kind of feel the same way. And logically, I know that it won't be erasing her to get rid of some of the things that she never really used or that she bought on a whim because she loved shopping so much, but it's still hard to let go of some things. But thankfully, I do get to live in my grandparents' house, and I get to be reminded of all of the things that she had picked out for decorations, and I see her in so much of what makes this house a home. But it's also hard to live in a house that is reminded of so many pieces of her, and it makes it harder and harder to not have those moments that it completely hits you that she's gone. And so we've all been kind of taking baby steps to work through some of the things that we can get rid of that won't hurt as hard as going through old cards that she had written or photos of everything that we've all done together. We've gone through clothes and we've gone through some knickknacks here and there, but we haven't tackled a whole lot. And this video is just a little documentation of one of the things that we were able to go through. And those were some of her old books. One of the things that I did get for my grandma was a love for books. Maybe more so book collecting than reading all of the books, but when her mom had retired, she wanted to read everything that she could get her hands on. So my grandma and her mom would go to book fairs and book sales and buy so many mass market paperbacks. And my great grandma would read them and she would put her initials in them. And when my great grandma passed away, I don't know if she left many of these books to my grandma, but my grandma ended up inheriting a lot of her mom's books. And she would go through and read some of them and she would initial in there if she had read them as well. And so after my grandma passed, I wanted to organize through those books, and I set aside any of the ones that didn't have her or my great grandma's initials in them, and I kept all of the rest that did on a bookshelf, and the other ones just sat in my room collecting dust for months and months and months because I didn't know what to do with them. I knew I wasn't going to read them, but it was really hard to want to let go of something that both of them had once used, had once intended to read, had probably spent some time reading the back of, or looking at the step backs and deciding that they were the right book for them. And there was a part of me that wanted to read some of their unread books, but they're not books I'm interested in at all. Books written in the 80s or 90s, romances that I don't think I would find any joy out of. And when I asked some of my family members, they didn't want those ones either because they hadn't been read by either of them, and that just didn't feel as special. So I figured it was probably time that we needed to donate them or do something with them. And I didn't want to take them to a Goodwill because I know how beat up and abused some Goodwill books can get, and these were older mass market paperbacks. I didn't want them to just completely crumble and go to waste. So I reached out to a friend and asked her to hand carve me a stamp, and she made the most perfect stamp that I ever could have asked for. Ash, thank you so much for making it. It was so perfect. It had a bunny with buttons on it because those were some of my grandma's favorite things, and we stamped this into 130 of the mass market paperbacks that were once my great grandma's and my grandma's. And me, my mom, my aunt, and my cousin decided to drop them off into a bunch of little free libraries. And we did this because before my grandma got sick, when the pandemic was going on, me and her found little free libraries because we thought it would be the safest way to get books and not have to go into stores and stuff. So me and her would go to a few around us and pick some books, and it's actually one of the last videos I have of her is us sorting through some little free libraries and getting really excited from titles that I recognized. And we had even started to talk about maybe putting a little free librarian friend for her house one day. We just really loved them, so I thought it would be a good way to spread her books around by adding them to little free libraries too. So I know this is the saddest little free library video I could ever make, but I just wanted to share something that we found comfort in doing. just share a little video on how we decided to honor my grandma's memory. I think by the end of that day we had spent 5 hours driving around Phoenix and other surrounding areas, stopping at upwards of 30 little free libraries and dropping off over 130 books. And our goal wasn't to grab as many books as we could, so I think we only walked away with 6 books of our own, but it was a really, really good day, a really fun day, and just a fun way to remember her. So if you live in or around Phoenix and you find one of these books with this stamp in it, just know that it was owned by one of the best people I have ever known, and I hope that you cherish it as much as she did.
Ooh, it's hot.
It's hot, right?
From where? Chicago?
Chicago Public Library.
Oh my gosh, that's not that.